What's going on? Is this going live or not? I don't know if it's going live or not. I think it's going live. Kaboly, you're all mad. You're all in a tizzy because people are arguing with you on social media today, me included. I don't know if this is actually going out on YouTube or not, but we're live on X, we're live on Instagram, we're live on Facebook, and we're doing the thing. It's Kaboly+Mack, and people are mad at you, and you're mad at people. We'll get to all that in just a second, because, well, we're gonna talk with Justin Labar of Busted Open Radio about the Royal Rumble. That's gonna be fun. But you're mad about people talking about coaching staffs. You've just had enough, haven't you?
I mean, it just gets to the point where the pendulum swings so far the other way that it forces you to defend, which is somewhat indefensible. It just gets out of control here. People talking like this team is 2-15 every year. Some of these guys can still coach here. Just because you add 3 or 4 coaches to the staff to make it 23 is not going to guarantee you any wins. You know what they're lacking, Chris?
What? Tell me.
Talent. How about that one?
Okay, so they're definitely lacking talent in some spots. We're going to go all over the place today, and I feel like it's going to get spicy today, and that's okay. My argument is, and look, the size of the coaching staff, I get it. That was an argument that came up, and Art Rooney saying they got this many coaches, and Brooke Pryor saying they got this many coaches, and then you go on the website and there's this many listed, but these, Vince and Shazier aren't listed, but they're okay. It's not necessarily the size of the coaching staff, right? I get what you're saying.
Hey,
it's how you use it. You know what I'm saying?
This is still PG, really. It's still PG, right?
Is it? I don't know. It's not necessarily the size of the coaching staff. It's speak for yourself, young man. It's how they're viewing things, right? And my problem is not necessarily with whether they have 18 assistant coaches or 15 assistant coaches or 37 assistant coaches. It's doing something differently and being proactive. Okay. And a good example of this is what happened. Was it last night or the night before? I can't even remember. The days are all melting into one. Where the Ravens go out and hire Chuck Pagano, right? Yeah. Senior defensive secondary coach, and they fire Chris Hewitt, who was their assistant
fired
head
a couple other guys too, and apparently a couple more are coming too.
So they were proactive, right? Baltimore didn't like the way the defense looked, especially in the first half of the season. Now, they fixed some things up in the second half of the season. They brought what's-his-face back in, who Tomlin wouldn't stop talking about in the last month and a half of the season. The other defensive assistant. What's his name? I can't remember his name now. Anyway, they brought him back in. He helped out the defense. And they fixed things. As quickly as possible, Baltimore saw issues and started fixing them. Okay? What are you giving me? What are you giving me that for?
I don't know. Blade said, "Give me the peace sign." If you
okay. Sorry. You spend more time reading the comments than actually engaging in conversation. Yeah. So Baltimore went out and was proactive about fixing things that were not working. Right? Dean Pease. That was the name I couldn't remember. I'm sorry. They brought Dean Pease back in halfway through the season. Tomlin wouldn't shut up about it before the last 2 times they played the Ravens. They go out and get Pagano the other day, right? Yeah. And fire some other assistants. They're being proactive about fixing things, even though they won the damn division and were a Mark Andrews drop away from probably going to the AFC Championship game.
I don't know if I would jump to that.
Okay, I will.
You're still giving Josh Allen 90 seconds to get a field goal to win that game, but I understand what you're saying here.
You get my point, right? They're proactive. They see problems and they go after them. And try to fix them as quickly as possible.
But that's not the argument we've been having. It's the argument of, they only have 20 coaches. What's the other argument now? Tomlin doesn't have a coaching tree. I mean, I don't see any direct effect of how they play compared to the size of the coaching staff I mean, you can talk to me about the experience of the coaching staff and maybe something like that, because there is a divide. If you want to sit there and complain about something, there is a significant divide between the guys who have the title and the age and their experience to that next group. It's like you have the experience, you've been there, you've done that, to entry level. And if you look at some of those guys in the back end of that, wow, Mac, what'd you do with that hat, man? It looks like it's been through a war or two.
It has. It's my old TJ baseball coaching hat.
Oh
when
my
I
goodness! Look at
help
the
out with the youth
sweat
baseball.
on that thing.
Yeah, you like that? I mean,
Wow.
I put it on backwards, and I look like I'm trying to look like I'm 16 when I'm 45. I
Dan
look like
Quinn.
an
It
idiot.
works for Dan Quinn.
That's true. But no, I get what you're saying, but I think it all loops back onto the same thing, the same problem, which is not being proactive enough from ownership on down through the head coach. Like the most proactive guy or the most proactivity we've seen has been Omar Khan the last couple off seasons, right? Omar, he goes out and he tries to fix the personnel. You brought up personnel. They're not as talented as other teams. He does his damnedest to go out and try to fix it, right?
Yep.
Art sits around and lets Mike do pretty much whatever he wants with the coaching staff. And Mike is slow to do anything about the coaching staff. We sat through Randy Fiechner longer than we should have. Matt Canada longer than we should have. We bring in senior assistants who might be coaches in waiting or might end up going off somewhere else to get a better gig elsewhere because we just keep it going back to the same coaches. I'm not saying coaches fix everything. I'm not saying having a staff of 45 head coaches making $2 million a piece is going to fix everything. But damn, if it's different than what you've been doing, try it, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
But the majority of the coaching staff is different than 2 years ago.
Okay.
You were saying give them 1 year, then you win 10 games, you fell in the end. So let's get rid of them. Let's just do it again, or do we give these guys a second opportunity? I mean, it's not like they haven't made significant coaching changes. I mean,
did Baltimore sit around and wait midseason to watch their defense flail about and cost them the division? No, Baltimore jumped on it and did something about it. I'm just speaking in comparison, in relation and comparison to the Ravens hiring Pagano the other night and bringing in Dean Pease in the middle of the season and being proactive. It's just not something you're ever going to see from the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're just not that decisively, that quickly. I'm not saying you fire I'm not saying you fire Arthur Smith, for example, after 1 year when he was working with two different quarterbacks and a young offensive line and really one wide receiver of any note. Like, I get it. Like, he's you got to bring in some more talent before you give him another year or his walking pay or whatever it is.
I just have the belief that if you add that the coaching is not going to make that much of a difference. I think you need the players. I think you need the quarterback, and the coaches might help it along anywhere. If you switch coaching staffs of Baltimore and Pittsburgh right now, I'm not going to guarantee you that there would be any different than how it ended up in Pittsburgh this year. That's my personal opinion. I just don't think that's that big of a deal of having a 30-year veteran as a senior defensive assistant. It would be nice, yeah, but I don't think it's a difference maker.
All right. Just real quick, G on X wanted to know if the YouTube feed is working. I don't know if the YouTube feed is working right now. We'll get it up on YouTube later. We're doing it live right now on X and Instagram and Facebook. We'll do it live. Damn it. So if you're trying to watch on YouTube and it's not working, my apologies. We'll get it up on YouTube after we're done doing it live. Okay. So before we get Labar in here in a couple minutes to talk Royal Rumble, there are a couple other Steelers issues worth noting. And I'll start with another thing that had you all juiced up this morning. Adam Crowley on the Fan Morning Show, my former stomping grounds, talking about if it would get you a chance to acquire your franchise quarterback, would you entertain the idea of trading TJ Watt? A lot of qualifiers in there.
Talk about leading the witness right there, man, with that question. Well, if you're able to get a guy that you can be your franchise quarterback for the next 19 years, That's not the point. Of course you would do it. But there's no guarantee, especially in this draft. I mean, okay, you're going to trade TJ Watt to go up to get who? And he's going to be assured of being what? Absolutely not. I'm not taking that chance right now. I mean, first of all, there's probably a handful of players I would even trade for TJ Watt right now. I don't think it's good business to trade your best player, and I still think he is their best player. And people point to Kaboly+Mack in Oakland. How did the Raiders do after they traded him? It was like 7-6, 4-12, or whatever. How good did the Bears place once they traded him when he left to go to the Chargers? Not very well. So you can't use that excuse for me at all with that. So unless you're assuring me a can't miss Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck type of draft pick that's going to come my way, or you're trading for a top 5 quarterback.
There's no way in hell I would trade TJ Watt this offseason for one of these quarterbacks. No way in hell.
Now, let me throw you this one. This is 100% speculation. So isn't that what we do? Create content.
I was going to say it's a Thursday, and you know how I like alliteration. It's theoretical Thursday. How about that?
What if
theoretical?
Will the Arizona Cardinals come to you and say TJ Watt for Kyler Murray?
No, for Kyler Murray?
You wouldn't do that?
Are you kidding me?
I would think about it. I don't know if I'd do it.
What? So dude can sit in his room and play Call of Duty 8 hours a day? No, thanks. No. Get me a quarterback who's actually good. Like, good. And then maybe we have a conversation here. But
so you're saying unless you're giving me Burrow, Allen, Mahomes.
Well, but
I'm not even throwing Herbert out there because I think he's a farce. But
I don't think Herbert's as good as some people make him out to be either. But no, I mean, it would have to be a quarterback that I know I can legitimately build around, and nobody's trading that guy.
Which goes back to the Crowley question. It's just a weird question, man. If you can get your franchise, of course I would trade him if you're going to give me a Josh Allen type guy in return. But what are the odds of that?
What if? Like, I'm trying to think of another quarterback that would work in this scenario that I would accept.
Trevor Lawrence.
No. Duval. That was the cringiest thing I've seen in a long time, Liam Cohen.
I still can't. There's somebody out there that looks like Liam Cohen, and it just hasn't come to me yet. I'm thinking Ralph Malph, but I'm aging myself right there, but
you're right. He does look like somebody. I just can't figure out who.
Yes, I can't at all.
What about? Hold on. I'm trying to think of another quarterback that fits the bill.
You got the big 3 here in the East, right?
Yeah.
Or the AFC.
I mean, there's nobody else that I look at and say, okay, that guy's proven enough that I would deal TJ Watt for him, and he's also tradable. Like the team would be looking to trade, because it comes back to what another new head coach said the other day. Ben Johnson, when he was introduced in Chicago, said, it's a quarterback league. You got to have your quarterback. Everything depends on having the quarterback. So once people find their quarterback, they're not trading their quarterback. I get that. Now, at the same time, this is
Kyler Murray.
There is, but Kyler Murray is not the difference between the Pittsburgh Steelers winning 10 games and the Pittsburgh Steelers winning a Super Bowl.
Really? I thought all you need is to add 4 more coaches, and that would make a difference, right?
Jesus, nobody said that. We said try something different. Now you're looking to argue just to argue.
Isn't that what this business is about?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. All right, let's bring one of your loser friends in here, as you called him earlier. See. There he is, Justin Labar, Busted Open Radio.
He's wearing that hat.
Oh, Jesus. You got to take shots already.
It's a win no matter what for us, Kaboly. We were playing with house money, all right?
Hey, you were. I see your owner took out a full-page ad in the paper. Too bad nobody gets the paper no more.
Hold on. The irony of Kaboly saying that. The guy who's been through every major media outlet in town, ragging on newspapers. The guy who got his start in newsprint at the Daily News.
I was a Vanessa before that.
That doesn't count.
Valley people.
Valley Dispatch or whatever.
Valley News. Valley Independent. Zip it.
Valley Independent, sorry. Justin Labar joins us from Busted Open Radio. You can hear him on SiriusXM. To talk about the Royal Rumble, Kaboly and I will argue about football some more after we're done taking a chunk out of Justin's day. Thanks for doing it, man. We appreciate it. Because the Royal Rumble is Saturday night. And I told Kaboly the other day, I said, I think we got a sneak peek of our Sunday night WrestleMania main event when after, and they did it on purpose. It was perfect timing. We talked about this too, Labar. They run some of the credits. You get the Made in Georgia thing because it was in Atlanta on Monday night. And then all of a sudden, like you were being treated to something you didn't think you were supposed to see. It cuts back to Cody in the ring, and we get the Cody Punk promo off to wrap up Raw on Monday night. I told Kaboly, that's the WrestleMania main event I've been waiting for them to tease because it's felt like there's nothing out there worthy of putting Cody on Sunday night for the main event at Mania until that promo happened. So is this really what Hunter is planning? Cody Punk Sunday night at WrestleMania in Vegas, or is this just a tease and we're going to get a massive swerve in the next few weeks?
I mean, even prior to Monday, my pick was CM Punk to win the Rumble. So then seeing that segment and it came off really well. I mean, it felt like that was your foreshadowing. Now, the wild card, of course, is, as we saw last year with Mania, audibles were called and The Rock was involved. And so you can never, I guess, be too sure. And I mean, look, I don't think that's the only match that's money to have Cody involved. And I think there's other scenarios, especially when you factor in that Cena's doing his farewell tour and wants to get another title win. And again, and The Rock, there still technically should be a payoff between The Rock and Cody. I know the way The Rock was, the way he was on the Netflix rollout, he just kind of abandoned any final boss character, but we'll see. But no, going back to I think CM Punk and Cody, especially when you look at from the Punk angle, Punk got injured in the Rumble last year, and you don't know how many more Rumbles you have Punk. You don't know how many, he's never won a Rumble and he wants to. He's never won, or he's never main event at WrestleMania and he wants to. So you don't know how many more years you have him. He's been back now for like 15 months. It seems like everything's going well. There's no drama. It seems he's on, the same creative page with Triple H. So I could see that trigger being pulled just to do it now, not to leave that money on the table, to get him to win Rumble, put him in the main event. And there's a lot that could be told there with he and Cody. So yeah, I don't think that segment was done for funsies. I think as of now, that's probably the plan. Again, things can change, barring injury and barring, other, I guess, political factors. But I think Punk and Cody for one of the two nights is the way they go.
What do you make of Cena? What is their plans, Justin? I mean, they've been pumping this farewell tour forever, and we've seen him for about 4 minutes so far. I mean, how can he come in here in the Royal Rumble and be any sort of factor when
he's John Cena. He's always a factor. But
yeah,
I mean,
I'm saying there's no really storyline other than, okay, it's the farewell tour. There's nobody that really has any, beef with him right now. I mean, what's the plan? Do you believe that's going to happen at Rumble with him, knowing that we haven't seen him in a month?
Well, I think he definitely will make it to the Final Four. I think you'll definitely dangle the fact that he could win the Rumble, and he comes up so close and misses out. I mean, that's what's unique about this. You mentioned how they're advertising, now through, and I think he said it, December. So to the end of this calendar year. That is so unique in pro wrestling because normally, you eyeball one match and say, oh, if this person loses, they're retiring or what have you. But to forecast an entire year, and so like you said, he doesn't really have a beef with anybody that we know of now. Of course, I'm sure they'll manufacture some situations, and maybe the first one comes out of who eliminates him Rumble match, if that happens. But yeah, it is unique because it's like, no matter what, whether he's champion, not champion, like it's done in December. That's what he said. And John's everything with him is very intentional. It's very thought out. He plays things close to the vest. So I believe if he's saying, as he's already said, I'm done in December, like he has a plan, he has an idea. And so barring injury, barring anything you can't control, he's got a plan, but it is going to be unique. I think part of it obviously is going to be him trying to, he keeps talking about how it's been however many thousands of days since he's won a match, which is crazy, right. Actually. So he comes up short in Rumble. They're already advertising for Elimination Chamber, so that would make me think he's not going to win Rumble. He's going to need to be in the chamber, and so he's in the chamber there. Whether he wins the chamber match and gets a title match, we'll have to wait and see how things play out. And then I guess, then it's which champion, I guess Gunther, if Punk goes after Cody. So there's a lot of weird situations. That kind of makes this fun. It's going to be unique. It is going to be, I cannot think of anybody else who, of his status, obviously, who's ever gone out like this. So that's going to be really unique to see. Is this a capture a title, defend it kind of reign? Is this going to be a bucket list of let me go against some old foes like Randy, like CM Punk, and then also let me mix in some new guys like Braun Breaker? I'm just throwing names out. What is the mission going to be? That's going to make this for a fascinating 2025.
You brought up Gunther. Let's talk about Gunther for a second, because Kaboly knows I'm not a huge Gunther fan. I know it makes Kaboly mad because he can't work the mic to save his life. He's gotten better.
What?
He's gotten better.
I told him the other day. I told him the same thing with Labar. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
He's gotten better. I love the old school tactics, and he's an old school heel, right? Like, he comes out, he tells the crowd how stupid they are. He tells the other guy, whoever's out there, how much he sucks. Oh, it starts to lead him like he's going to compliment him, then tells him he sucks. He does all the classic heel stuff, which is great. But in comparison to some of the other stuff that's happening in the last year or two, I look at it and I go, okay, Gunther's going to come out and he's going to cut a promo and he's going to tell somebody they suck. And then they're going to have a match and he's going to put him in a sleeper hold. And I'm going to go get a beer and a snack and I'm going to come back and the match is going to be over. And I'm not going to care anymore about it. Labar, why am I wrong?
We have a saying on Bust Open on Sundays that, fan how you want to fan, and pro wrestling is like flavors of ice cream. So you like what you like, but that's a pretty trashy flavor there.
Pistachio.
Pistachio's good, Kaboly.
Of course you would say that.
I think he, first off, just on alone, it's impressive the fact that, I think he is so masterful in the way he delivers his lines. And English is not his English is like fourth or fifth of the languages that he masters. So that alone for a guy who can't speak but a little bit of English, I think that's impressive. No, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's something very actually genuine about his delivery of the always condescending tone. He comes off like a mastermind villain in Die Hard. But he's still he comes off as
Hans Gruber.
He's like Simon, in Die Hard 3. He's clever, a little bit funny, but also dangerous. I mean, work-wise, just physicality wise, the way he is, I don't know. I think he's very appealing, and it's also impressive too. If anybody who doesn't know this or hasn't seen this, Google some pictures of him. His ring name used to be Walter. Guy used to be above $3 bills, and well, I'm saying. The physical transformation that he's put in is that also is just again as a sidebar, but I don't know. I find him entertaining, and it's clear again they're doing things very intentional with him. The insane Intercontinental title run that he had, and then now, I mean, the run he's having here. I mean, Michael Cole's rattled off before on commentary. I mean, he's only been beat 2 times since he's been on the main roster.
One by Sami Zayn.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. So
maybe I'm just marking out because he's doing such a good job of making me hate him. I don't know, but maybe that's
what that gets too often that gets lost in wrestling commentary. Too often, analysts and fans or whatever, we get so caught up in trying to outsmart ourselves that we forget that the whole point is, if you're booing somebody, you're probably doing the right. I don't believe in go away heat. I believe if you're making noise at somebody, at the talent, they have elicited a response out of you. To me, if somebody has go away heat, you don't make any noise. You stand up and go to the bathroom.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't believe in the go away heat thing. But
well, one of the most talented guys on the entire roster, to me, he can do everything, is Kevin Owens. I mean, there's not a thing that guy can do. The mic work is impeccable. He gets in the ring. He puts his body on the line. I almost would rather see him in the Rumble right now. But, boy, does it seem like it's just fait accompli, man? Nobody's even giving him a chance here against Cody Rhodes. Are they trying to swerve us on this one? Or it's like an afterthought. Everybody's talking Cody wins. Cody's going to face this in WrestleMania. Well, what's this match about then if that's the case?
Well, it's been impressive that this match still has as much juice and oomph to it considering the fact this is not the first time they fought in this feud, and then this feud's been going on since October, and in the middle of that, we've had Survivor Series and other things. So that's a credit to Kevin and Cody and their promos and storytelling. If this match were anywhere else in the calendar, I think you give more of a chance to Kevin and say, okay, look, we're having another match here. We're putting a ladder match. But the fact that this is the kickoff to Road to Mania, and like I said, there's so much money on the table with different scenarios of this will be the first time Cody's going into WrestleMania as champion, where he's been, of course, chasing the last few years. I think that's why you dismiss Kevin, for no other reason that, again, just trying to again, getting your smart analysis hat on. You're just like, it's hard to imagine Cody dropping the title right now as we go into Mania. So I think in any other time you give Kevin more of a shot. And then what he does, assuming he does lose, what he does after that, I'm not sure. That'll be really interesting to see where he fits in. Mania's 2 nights, so there's more real estate now to get guys and girls on the card and then not be an 8-hour show. But I'm not sure where he's going to fit in.
Speaking of the length of the show, we talked about this a couple days ago too. I understand the Rumble is different because of the construction of the card, because you've got 2 at least hour-long matches in the Rumbles themselves, the men's and women's Rumbles. But this will be the second big event between the Netflix debut and now Rumble that is basically like a 4 or 5 event card. And it feels like we're trending in that direction of shows maybe not necessarily getting more condensed, because I know we still have a 3-hour SmackDown for a little while longer, but cards getting a little more condensed so that performers can maybe take some time off, get off the road a little bit here and there. And you also get the benefit, I think, Justin, of sort of getting a little more play in the storylines. You drag them out a little bit more, stretch them out, pull the storylines out over weeks and months rather than necessarily days, as it used to be when everybody was showing up for both shows twice a week, and then PLEs were 3 hours. And so is that purposeful, you think, by Hunter and by Nick Khan? Are they purposely sort of condensing cards and condensing events so that they can, you stagger things almost, so that I watch something on Saturday night, I may not get 4 or 5 major storylines. I have to tune back into Raw or SmackDown to see if those pop up.
Yeah, there's several factors that are at play. First off, in this Rumble, mind you, is actually starting at 6 Eastern time, and I believe that's being done because they want it to be done by a certain time, because then I think UFC has an event that night, and of course they're all under the same umbrella, so they don't want to be taken away from anybody's audience. But yeah, in general, they're condensing these shows. There's a couple factors. One, as you kind of alluded to, by I don't want to say trimming fat as if anything's fat, but by condensing the PLE cards, yeah, it does allow you then to take other matches and stories that would otherwise be worthy to be on a PLE, but now, hey, they can main event and be advertised to a Raw or SmackDown. So it gives some, gives those shows that to work with. There's also a formatting situation, because the PLEs are on Peacock still here in the United States, and then everywhere else it's on Netflix. But no matter what, it's streaming, and the streaming has different tiers, as we know. If you have the 1 tier, you got to sit through ads. If you pay for more tier, then you get to see promos and vignettes in between. But bottom line, no matter what, it means that when they put the format together, if you got a 5-match card, well, there's at least 4 breaks then that are going to happen that are 5 minutes long. So you got to that's 20 minutes. So right there, that's 20 minutes already that's being taken away. That's takes away what could be another match in terms of timing, if you're trying to still keep it tight and let it be 3 hours or less. I'm a proponent. I'm a proponent as a consumer. I'm a proponent when I work on the independent scene as a producer, that like 2.5 hours is like that sweet spot. And that's what I know, Triple H just said that same thing. You leave them wanting more. The last thing you want is to have people exhausted or falling asleep or not knowing like when I'm getting out of here. Like, so I'm all for the leave them wanting more. Some people look at me like, other fans look at me like crazy. They're like, it's more bang for your buck. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. It's not a quantity thing. It is a quality thing.
Justin, another, I guess, man crush of mine is one Jacob Fatu. Man, what a meteoric rise he's been on here recently. And I think, give me your opinion on this, but I think the blurred lines of actually believing that he's nuts. You look at him and you believe it. Compare, when you contrast that to his in-ring ability, I think this guy's a star. Is he going to be a part of this Rumble whatsoever here? Where does he fit in? They're going to throw in an extra match. They're going to throw him in the 30 men. Rumble. I think after what he did to Big Braun Strowman, I don't think you could just let him dangle there for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is with him, especially when we know that Roman's going to be in the Rumble, and like I said, I don't think Roman's going to win it. So that certainly provides a situation. Okay, who and how eliminates Roman? So I don't know if that's a situation where we see Jacob and Tama pop up, even if they're not in the Rumble, if they just come, outside interference and get Roman eliminated. I'm not sure what the plan is with Jacob, but I absolutely agree with you, and I would share in the man crush department. He I've spoken to other people who worked with him on different promotions that he's been at prior to WWE, and not to kill the facade of him, but nothing but professional and positive things about how he is to work with and what have you. So I say that to mean, like, I think there's an endless potential, both as this killer crazy, and his castmates have done a great job. I think it was Jey Uso said it, weeks ago in one of the promos when they were maybe building the Survivor Series. He was like, and Jacob, there's a reason why the family stayed away from him, like dropping little things like that. And of course, Michael Cole dropping reality-based, I don't want to say fun facts, but facts of, he was incarcerated, several times, so the fact that you have that sells the heel story right now and the heel gimmick, but also in the way WWE and the machine and the storytelling can do, one day he's going to be a babyface. That's going to be a hell of a story. And they will lean in to the rehabilitated, career in life, and one day he's going to be a hell of a babyface. You can bookmark, timestamp, whatever you do, this episode, and however many years that takes, he will be a huge babyface.
You know who I think? Yeah, I think real quick. I think Tama Tonga is a little underrated. I think he provides a nice sidekick to him. To be honest with you, I really like how he's matured and grown over the past couple months in that role.
Yeah, no, look, him right there, being the I call him the kimchi, like kimchi was Kamala. He's there trying to like control the monster that is Jacob. It is a nice visual, and Tonga Loa, Tama's brother and partner, he's injured as best I understand right now, so he's out of the fold. We don't know what they're doing with Solo after he walked out a few weeks ago. So it seems like, at least for right now, you got Jacob, and then you have Tama, and I mean Tama. It to me is the more impressive between he and his brother in terms of that tag team. Tama is very good. He's been very good for a long time. If anybody ever watched him over in Japan. So I like I like the presentation they have right now. Even if it is just the two of them, it does not feel like they are going to be outnumbered by numbers. It feels like even the two of them is still a pretty powerful, presentation of a team.
I think the most succinct and probably best way I saw someone put it on social media, Justin, was Jacob has ended up being a better Solo than even Solo was. Like, and that's not a shot at Solo. I mean, it's just a fact. Like, Jacob Fatu has just been, so I mean, we could even, maybe it quickly branches off into a Bloodline 3.0 storyline where Jacob takes over from Solo and says, "Where the hell you been, bro?" And then, and again, like you alluded to, this is going to take time. The nice thing is that the pacing on all of these storylines is very good, and that we can all sort of see the different branches in the road that might get taken, but we're just waiting to see which one they take. So that's one I could see playing out as well. I wanted to ask about the Women's Rumble because we know Charlotte's coming back.
She didn't bring up Tiffy. he got a crush on Tiffy.
Tiffy stays up here in my head where I don't have to share her with anybody, Kaboly. So where does the Women's Rumble go? Not just for Charlotte's return, but it feels like there's a million different possibilities they could go with each belt right now. And I'm not sure how the Rumble will get used and how Charlotte will be inserted into the multiple different avenues they could take.
Well, I think Charlotte's got to be. I think she's got to be the favorite to win this. To me, I look at the Women's Rumble. I see fewer realistic probabilities of winning. Like, I feel like the who's going to win, it's a much narrower field than even the men's. I feel like the Women's Rumble opens up a lot more who could surprise show up, whether it's NXT women, whether it's TNA knockout talent, whether it's another female talent from somewhere else. Like, I think, or a legend. I think there's a lot more of that, but I don't think there's too many options realistically in terms of who's going to win. I think you have Charlotte. You can, there's always a possibility of does Becky resurface, but you have to be careful with that because you're already trying to give some spotlight to Charlotte returning. And so if you have too many full-time people returning, then you just risk overshadowing. And so, we'll see there. I mean, obviously, Bianca's always up there, but I think Bianca, you got to be looking out for. They're doing this whole whodunit of attack Jade Cargo, and I think that's going to start to come to, materialize here, with maybe Jade being in the match or Jade and Bianca eliminate each other, whatever happens there. Liv Morgan, again, Liv's doing some of her best work, but she just, lost a title, so I don't see them giving a Rumble win to her. Nia Jax, again, doing great work, but again, she's just been in title matches, so I don't think there's just I don't, unless they want to do something, which I don't put this past, unless they like, because I know that they really like some of the women they have, they're doing top stuff in NXT, unless they wanted to surprise us and have an NXT woman win it. But I think it just comes back to Charlotte. And Charlotte, and then they have mid-card titles for the women's division, so there's that to fill out. But I think this is Charlotte, and I do think, we've already had Charlotte and Rhea before, and while they've had several matches, while one of their matches was one of the best matches I've ever seen, I don't think you need to go back that route again. I do think actually Charlotte, and then you have her go to the other title, and I think Tiffany Stratton and her would make. There's a lot that they can. There's a lot of old guard, new guard that they can play with there.
See, I think Io Sky is a very talented. I think she's very over. I think the crowd loves her, but she just doesn't seem like she fits into the main eventer type of category. I mean,
she does throw some insane spots out there, though, and people lose their minds for it. Like off the top of the cage at War Games, all this stuff that, like, I don't know. I think people appreciate it.
Yeah, I think people appreciate. I mean, she's very fun to watch. It goes back to that thing, though. And they tried a little bit with Asuka, and Asuka in her own right has a fun way to communicate and cut promos. But it's, at the end of the day, you got to be able to talk people into the building. And Io Sky, I don't know. Yeah. At least she hasn't shown it. I'm not going to say that she's not capable, because that's unfair of me to say. But up to this point, she hasn't shown that she could. She can't have a segment like we just saw Cody and Punk have, or she can't have a segment like we've seen Rhea have with and with some of the emotion that she's had with Nia or with Liv. Like, we haven't seen that from an Io Sky. So that's to me kind of what, again, these mid-card titles are there now, these US and IC for the women. So that's great, I guess, to have a title then to let somebody like an Io Sky, strive for and go after. But when you're talking Road to Mania, when you're talking getting to Mania, world title, I mean, you got to be able to talk people into the event. Yeah,
and that's what worries me about a guy like Penta. I mean, talent out the wazoo, but if he can't have that Punk Rhodes promo, how far can he really go?
Well, yeah, I'll say this. Him cutting the first time I saw him was in Los Angeles at Lucha Underground years ago, where he only obviously and up to that point he'd only ever done promos in Spanish that I'd ever seen on TV. So that was the first time that he cut a promo where he spoke any English on. But it was actually impressive that it connected and it got as big of a reaction as it did, even though half of it was in Spanish. So I'm gonna, he's not gonna be world champion in the next 3 months or anything like that. I would, but I'm gonna give that one time, because I think there might be something there of he might elicit enough emotion or reaction that, again, not right now, but there could be a long road of potential for what he might do in his WWE run. That was a very impressive debut for me. The fact that the match was what it was and very good, but then it surprised me they gave him the mic and he cut a promo, and again that it got the reaction it did, both live and if you look. The metric I always like is looking at their YouTube channel, because you can all the TV metrics, it's so hard, whatever, but social media metrics says a lot. If you go to their YouTube channel and you see what videos do the best and what did better the week before, that tells you a lot about where things stand, and his promo got a lot of reaction there. So I think Penta's there's a lot to work with there with him.
There's two more things I want to ask you about before we let you run and not keep you too long. One of them is, you mentioned TNA, Jordan Grace. I think a lot of people just expect her. It almost feels like a given. She'll show up in the Women's Rumble. More importantly, in the Men's Rumble, say his name, Kaboly, and he appears. Sing it.
Smitty?
Yeah, him too. We have to get a Joe Hendry appearance in the Rumble, don't we, Labar?
Yeah, I mean, even as far back as December, I had said I think whoever's TNA World Champion, whoever wins between Hendry and Nick, probably makes an appearance in the Rumble, and that was before the official announcement came of the partnership. So, yeah, I think that seems like a given. And you mentioned Jordan Grace. My understanding, she's officially now a WWE contracted talent, so she is officially So I wouldn't be surprised to see her again in the women's rumble. But yeah, Joe Hendry, I think we've seen, obviously they've used him with NXT before. So it's so much to the point. I can't believe I'm saying this. I never would have thought I would be saying this 10 years ago about TNA and WWE. It would surprise me if the TNA World Champion is not in the Rumble.
That's fantastic. The place is going to pop like crazy. Kaboly at home is going to pop like a 12-year-old watching the Warrior run out.
Should have drove out there, but at Indianapolis Drive isn't my favorite.
Yeah, any drive you're not a fan of. I know. One more thing, unless Kaboly has more that I want to ask you about. What else you got?
I got time. We're good.
I was going to ask him about a decade ago. Have you ever talked to Triple H about his cutting that promo on you?
I mean, I've seen him since, but no, we've never talked about that.
That's still classic.
It was just stupid. It was just stupid. I was at an event earlier that day around he and Stephanie, and I had the same shirt on, so maybe I was just identifiable. It was just he's in the midst of cutting a live promo, and here, let me rag on Justin.
I was oh my goodness, he's talking about us, I think. Yeah. And meanwhile, Steelers linebacker Arthur Moats is across the ring, and if you look at the video, he's like in the first row on, I guess that's the on the opposite side of us, and he's sitting there laughing. Mm-hmm. He's messaging me, boy, they're killing you right there. But that was great.
No, I never talked to him about it, but I mean, he's
I was up there with me trying to give Wiz Khalifa a high five, and he blew me off like a couple months later. You remember when he was singing? You remember that one?
Yeah, was it at Raw? Where was it?
Yeah, I think it was at Raw. I mean, I think I went with you, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
and he came down and started singing, and everybody's high fiving him. I'm like, and he just blew me off. So I get my text, my phone just starts blowing up. He blew you off. Oh
well. The one thing I did want to ask you about before we let you run, to kind of circle it all back to where we started, and Cody. I keep saying it to Kaboly and to other people when I talk to them, like, the heel turn when it happens for Cody, and who knows how far off it is. Maybe it's sooner rather than later. I don't know. But when it happens, it's going to be something to watch it happen because, you mentioned little nuggets that they drop when they're sort of filling out the bloodline storyline, right? About Fatu and whatever it may be. The little nuggets that man can drop just with a facial expression in the middle of cutting a promo or in the middle of Punk cutting a promo back on him, I can see Homelander happening in his face as promos are being cut. And you can see, even in a backstage with Nick Aldis, where they're talking about, you've got commitments to the fans and to the company and things like that. You can see the framework of it being built. And I don't want to miss the forest for the trees, Justin, and not enjoy the rest of Cody's title run and being the face of the company and all that. But, I'm here for it. I'm ready for the heel turn whenever it happens. You see the 2K25 banner drop from the ceiling and it's Reigns. Mm-hmm. And I can see that being a part of a promo that gets cut or part of the storyline. All these little things building up to Cody eventually turning. What's your feeling or your sense on just how long they'll let this play out before it eventually happens someday?
Well, I don't know how long. I mean, I think part of it is you try to hear the crowd before they hear themselves. You try to sense it. You certainly, I don't think you want to get into the territory of what happened with John Cena, where you eventually just have a split audience everywhere you go. I do think whereas Vince, John's talking to John, they got close where Cena had new music made, new gear, and it was going to happen. And then Vince, put the brakes on it because he just couldn't give up babyface John and the merch and also they didn't really have anybody else that was ready to take that that babyface spot. Cody, I do think that the depth of the roster and the way creative is handled, they can afford to have him heel and they have other options to be top babyfaces. I do think that they will do it. I do think that, again, they will not leave that money on the table, him being a badass heel, and I do know and believe that Cody can do it. Timing wise, again, it's a matter of checking off, hey, did we get everything we wanted to do while we have babyface Cody? Again, going back to his Mania opponent this year, again, I think Punk. And then again, is there more stuff there? Is there more stuff with the final boss of The Rock? Is there more? Randy Orton is one. Cody always drops how Randy's his mentor. That's a shoot comment, if you will. There's money there in a babyface Cody versus a heel sadistic Randy. Like, so it's hard to say timing wise, because you want to see how things lay out. You don't want to, again, have him switch before you've gotten all the business you want to get done as him as a face right now. But I absolutely am with you. It is going to happen, whether it's this year, next year, wherever. It's going to happen, and it's going to be. I think it's going to maybe surprise people even how good of a heel transition he will make. But yeah, I would be careful. Make sure you get all the business you can right now out of him while the crowd still is with him. They have not wavered on him, and that'll be interesting to listen for if it is him versus Punk. That, whether it's Seth Rollins or Drew McIntyre or whomever, they've cut these promos on Punk the last year and talked about how you were selfish, how you left, you badmouthed this place, all things that were true. And the crowd doesn't care. They're still there with Punk. So the crowd is firmly behind Punk. So I'll be really curious to see what that dynamic is, if in fact Punk and Cody is what we get for Mania.
Do you think Jey Uso is a main eventer, or is he a guy that's just taking advantage of a pretty interesting song and a catchphrase?
Well, I think his entrance, I think his reactions, and I think his merch is all main event level. Yeah, I mean, he just hasn't won any big matches, and that Saturday night's main event loss to Gunther, to me, kind of cemented that right now that's just where he's going to remain. He's going to remain a feel good. You got to have him out there because that's part of the ticket buying experience. Is you want to be part of the Uso entrance and do the yeet and everything. And again, the crowd seems to be sticking with him despite him not ever being able to win any big matches he's in. So you ride that business for as long as you can. But in terms of I don't see him main eventing and being a world champion anytime soon. He's got a good act, good for him. Hopefully he's making the most money he's ever made. It's wild too, because if you look at the roster, next to Kofi and The Miz, the Usos have been there the longest in terms of regular full-time talent. And so it's pretty impressive that here we are in 2025, over closer to 20 years that the Usos have been around. It's between 15 and 20. That he, at least Jey, is getting the most over that he's ever been. So that's pretty impressive in itself.
We'll let you run, Justin. I'm sure there's a million other things we could talk about. You brought up Kofi. We could talk about a fantastic heel turn by the New Day.
Big E, will we see Big E?
Oh,
that's a great question. I'm always careful about speculating anybody's with their medical, but I do. The fact that they made the choice to have him be part of that heel turn, to have Kofi and Woods, run him down. I mean, you like to think that wouldn't happen unless they had a bigger plan, unless they had an idea of something they wanted to do. So I'm hopeful as somebody who's a big fan of Big E. I just don't know. I know, he's dealing. It was neck injury, and that neck injuries we've seen guys and girls come back from them. But neck injuries, as you guys both know, are they're dicey. I don't know, but let me put it this way: I'll say this: if we don't see Big E in the Rumble, if that doesn't trigger the start of a build to a match with him versus one or both of them, if it doesn't happen now, then I think that might truly be the read between the lines. If he truly is actually retired and physically is done, if it doesn't get kicked off here in the next week.
That's one of the best lines of all time I heard was Big E. But I broke my freaking neck. So
is it as good as Kurt Angle saying I won the Olympics with a broken freaking neck?
It's up there. We didn't even get to talk about Rollins or McIntyre or anything else. There's so much depth to all the storylines right now. But I'm going to yell at Kaboly about the Steelers some more, and we're going to let you run, Labar. Enjoy the Rumble Saturday night, and we'll talk to you again definitely on the road to Mania.
Where can we hear the old Busted Open? Will you have a set time?
Yeah, I'm the co-host every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time. You can listen live on channel 156 on SiriusXM. Beautiful. You can listen live if you have the SiriusXM app, or later in the day they usually put out like a 30-minute version of the episode. Like they'll take one or two topics and put out a free podcast version. Obviously SiriusXM wants you to be listening to the full show, so that's why you get just a little bit on the podcast. But yeah, 9 a.m. to noon live, and then they tend to replay it at other times of the day on SiriusXM channel 1.
You join the WWE as a producer when?
I'm happy right here in this chair.
You're gonna have like a post game edition on Sunday morning. That's gonna be perfect.
That's what's great about the. I'm on every Sunday. Myself and my co-host Jonathan Hood. It's great because with all these PLEs being on Saturdays, it's a great and then Saturday night's main event. It's great to be able to react and be the first thing to talk about Sunday morning. So yeah, it's been the Sunday show has been Busted Open is now 7 days a week, and we've had such a great response. It's been about 15 months now. We've been doing the Sunday episode, and it's got great response. So it's been good.
Well, enjoy it, man. We like listening to it. Obviously, when I'm in the car on Sunday mornings, I punch up the SiriusXM and get Busted Open Radio. Justin, thanks again. We all go back to the Trib Live radio days and previous to that, and it was cool to have you on for a couple minutes and break down the Rumble. And like I said, we'll have to catch up with you again before Mania.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it again.
All right, man. Thanks again.
Commanders.
Why?
Hail. Raise hell.
Why do you have to be an ass?
Because that's the way I is. It had to be at least 50. Oh, I don't even know now. 15, 16 years ago, Labar came out of college and was a videographer or something for the Trib. And him, and Scott Brown driving to Detroit. Whenever the Steelers played in Detroit, I want to say 09, something like that. That might have been my first exposure to Justin Labar. See how everything's just intertwined here?
It's wild,
too. The Trib, the wrestling,
all of it. I mean, the fact that we all live in the same school district now is kind of ridiculous.
Honestly, after this, we could probably go down to Panera or something. Actually, I might be the central location. He comes this way, you come this way. You know
where we should go? Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Are you going tomorrow?
I have to because your former station's going to be there from 2 to 6. And
you're allowed to say their name, like the fan. Pony and Muller are going to be there.
Pony and Muller are going to be there 2 to 6. I'm usually at 3:45. The 4:45. I don't even know what time I go. 3:34. 4
so you're gonna have to go to Buffalo Wild Wings.
It's like a couple minutes down the road. Maybe I could sneak some wings.
Nice. A funny story. My daughter called me this morning from school. By the way, I don't know what the hell she was doing.
Are they allowed her to have phone in school?
They don't even care anymore. She calls me from school and says, "You're friends with Andrew Filipponi, right?" I say, "Yeah." She's like, "He's giving away free wings tomorrow." I said, "No, Pony is not giving away the free wings, sweetheart. Buffalo Wild Wings is giving away the free wings." She's like, "Well, can you get some for me and Liam, her boyfriend?" I said, "No, I can't just it's a contest. You have to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and try to win the free wings while Pony and Muller are there." So there you go.
I know. It's not like anybody's ever asked you for free tickets or anything.
Never.
Why 108?
Never. I get at least 3 requests a week.
I wanted some jelly roll, and you're like, well, too bad.
Because you don't understand. With major shows, I'm lucky if I get the tickets, man. Real quick, I wanted to talk about this, and we only got like 5 minutes left. So Mike Tomlin's all over the defensive line at the Senior Bowl workouts in Mobile. So if it's defensive line at 21st overall in the first round, I know you're going to be happy. But fans, I think, are going to be disappointed. Fans want offensive skill position players in the first round. They feel better about that. It tells me that if they're not highly, and look, the receivers that are at the Senior Bowl aren't, there's a couple that could be first round quality, I guess. The kid from Oregon is there. Restrepo from Miami is probably a second day pick. So there are maybe some borderline first round receivers, but not a ton. Like Egbuka isn't there. Luther Burden from Missouri isn't there. If they are not highly interested in wide receivers, though, they're going to have to make it a primary focus in free agency. And look, we talked about all the names that are out there. You keep talking about T. Higgins, even though it's not going to happen. I mentioned Godwin because he's a Penn State guy and I'm a homer. You hate Amari Cooper because he's old now, I guess. DeAndre Hopkins is also old and didn't really do anything in the Chiefs AFC Championship win. Keenan Allen's out there. He's also ancient, but there are names out there. So all of this is to ask, should we, if Tomlin is sitting there focused on defensive linemen, should we just assume that they're going to look D-line earlier than maybe some people would be happy with them looking wide receiver?
No, I don't think so. I just think you can't read a lot into what a guy or a coach does at these things. I mean, maybe there's a handful of players. Maybe the guys he's looking at, he knows he's not going to be able to see them at their pro day, so he wants to get a better look at them right now. We just look and see Mike Tomlin sitting here talking to this guy, looking at this guy, that they're all of a sudden interested in that. You know who they were interested in a couple of years ago very much? Malik Willis. How'd that turn out? No, they didn't want him, right? So I would be guarded against reading into who Arthur Smith is talking to, who so-and-so's looking at. I just think defensive line would be a luxury at 21st overall. I don't think you go 21st overall with a defensive lineman. That's when you have a chance to get a highly skilled playmaker. And I still think that's the route they'll go.
Okay. I thought you were going to tell me you'd do cartwheels over a defensive lineman in the first
I
round.
think you could find a solid defensive lineman in free agency. As worst comes to worst, I mean, you can find one in the second round. So I don't go that route. I mean, the defensive line, I think, is pretty deep as long as the running backs. You have to take that into account, too. I mean, when you look at where you're going, you have to line up your need with how much is out there, or how much is the position is out there right now. And I just think that wide receiver would be the best bet right now. So I would believe in that, but I don't believe in anything I see, witness, just like the Senior Bowl in general. So-and-so had a great rep. Great. He had a great rep. If you're an offensive tackle, you can have 59 great reps and 2 crappy reps, and you turn into Dan Moore, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Okay. So it's still, I still think Mike Tomlin is the kind of guy that does kind of telegraph. Like, I remember him being in Columbus after Justin Fields' pro day and telling Justin Fields, "You're the reason we're here." And it's like, okay. So like, if he's maybe not Omar or Arthur or anybody else, but like Mike will telegraph what he's excited about, not excited about, or what.
You know what I've learned from the Senior Bowl highlights?
What?
That Art didn't say, "Hey, Mike, back off this."
Yeah, get less involved.
This scouting department stuff here at all. You know, I've learned that hasn't happened.
All right, next week it's the Super Bowl, so we'll be talking a lot about that. We'll have the Royal Rumble to break down.
I think we'll see some
Senior
coaches.
Bowl.
I think we'll have some coach departures here, potentially as early as tomorrow, as late as Monday.
But nothing major. Like, it's going to be assistants, right? Just assistants whose contract expired.
I mean, the O coordinator and the D coordinator is already in the Senior Bowl. I don't think they're fired and say, "Hey, we'll call you on Friday to tell you you're gone."
Right.
I mean,
all right.
Makes sense.
Well, check out Mark's stuff for the Rumble on WWE.com. He'll write about it.
I'm going with Seth freaking Rollins
to win the Rumble.
Yep. Charlotte Flair, I believe.
Nah.
I don't know. I like to see the twist. I like to see KO beat Rhodes, then Rhodes get it back.
You're just here for chaos. That's all.
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. And I only know about that. I'll probably not watch the Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY. I mean, what are we doing here? Unless that's your opening match, I guess.
That's the opener, probably, I would think. Unless they cook something else up Friday night on SmackDown. We'll see.
It might.
All right. Follow us both on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, on Facebook. This will be up later on YouTube in whole because apparently YouTube didn't want to work with us this morning. But thanks for joining us live if you did.
Is this going to be the last time we see your sponsorship here?
Yeah. As of Tuesday, it's February, and we start doing these next week. Yeah, we're going to have sponsors. We're moving on up, Kaboom.
Yeah, I know. There's people reaching out left and right. I am aware of this.
It's it's dry, wet, dry, brother. It's dry, wet, dry.
I mean, you know what? We should whoever comes up with the best dry, wet, dry design for a shirt gets to hang out with us at the BW3s, and you can buy them, and Pony can buy them wings.
I love it. Send us your dry, wet, dry ideas. All right. I'll see you later.
All right. We'll see you.
See ya.